Hello, my name is Marie Laveria, and in May of 2025, I wrote a book called Living with Simplicity and Discovering What Matters. So I retired on October 30th, 2025, and I am now doing the Discovering What Matters part of my book. I retired from being an LCSW. I have been working in this capacity for many years. And before and after October 30th, I did all the necessary paperwork with all the insurance companies and other entities that I was connected to while working. Lots of paperwork and phone calls that took up at least part of October and most of November to complete. I'm ready to move onto the next phase of my life, a new beginning. I didn't have any plans, even though I am a planner. And I'm okay with not having any detailed plans, even though it feels a bit weird to me. In the past few months, I started to think about people from the past and things I had done that I enjoyed, and I had stopped because I was busy with work and all that comes with being self-employed. I tried to reconnect with Maine people whom I had lost touch with when I lived in New Mexico for 7 years. And I found that when we lose touch with people, most of them have moved on. That was my experience anyway. I did hear back from one old friend, and we remain connected, and that is wonderful. She's a sweetheart. I do have 2 other friends that I keep in touch with on a regular basis. But as an aside, I had a fantasy that when people retire, they have more time to do fun things. I didn't know that people our age have lots of doctor appointments. One yearning that I felt strongly about was to find a spiritual community. I felt that I was leaving an old way of walking on my spiritual journey to a new one, but I could not place my finger on what that was. So let me back up to when I was 44 years old. A long time ago. I'm 69, so do the math. I decided to run for a seat in the state of Maine legislature as a House of Representative. I won and served 3 years. After being there for a month, I met a woman who was also a state representative, and she was from a neighboring city. And she invited me to attend at her home a Reiki training on a Saturday in a few weeks. I asked her what Reiki was, and she told me that I'd love it and that she absolutely loved my energy. I declined, saying I had a prior engagement. She asked me again in a few months, and I declined again. She then asked me one more time a few months later, and this time she begged me to attend and said she wouldn't charge me and that I had to go. I accepted her invitation because I could not believe that someone would be so persistent to ask a third time after 2 refusals. I'm happy I did because I loved the class. Reiki is a healing modality, a healing practice, a tool that I absolutely enjoy. I always felt like placing my hands on people when they were in pain, and I didn't have a way of offering that. But Reiki became that tool. Excuse me. Reiki has 3 levels of training, and I continued with all 3 levels. And I also trained at least 100 people within 5 years and offered it to others for healing in the early to mid 2000s. I had a room in my home devoted to offering Reiki. Reiki was one of my spiritual awakenings. So that's in the past, but I wanted to bring it up because I'll bring up another episode of the past. Another very important awakening I received was when I lived in New Mexico between the years of 2009 to 2016. I met a very special teacher. Her name was Kylie Renner, who was a minister at the local spiritual center. She taught me about manifestation, the law of attraction, affirmations, and so much more. She was the best preacher teacher I have ever met, I had ever heard. I am forever grateful to her for all she did for me on my spiritual journey. She was a blessing. And so I asked myself this past week, what would I do with my life if I had nothing restricting me to truly be myself? This is the luxury of being retired, having enough money to meet my expenses, and wanting to so very deeply connect to find joy and peace in my life on a regular basis as part of being who I am. I pondered this question for a few days, or perhaps even a week, and the thought that popped up was that I would nurture my relationship with the divine. I mean, really spend time developing my spiritual practice and allowing myself to connect to Source, the divine, higher power, the universe, God on a daily basis. I use these many names for God because my belief in God is that of spirit, and so I try to honor that change, and most times I refer to God as awesome goodness in spirit form. I mean change because I was brought up to think differently. So it's a change for me, but it's been a change for a long time. So I reflected on how I have connected with the divine, sometimes here and there, and it was by doing a simple 5-minute meditation, and then asking for a golden nugget of wisdom. On my third book, I took a picture of these rocks. I piled them up. I found them on the beach across the street where I take walks. They were all gray. I took a picture of them, and one of them on the picture turned out gold, which is very weird, but wonderful. So when I asked for a golden nugget of wisdom, a message from awesome goodness that would help me through my day, that's been my mini spiritual practice. I kept thinking how I could move forward with improving my spiritual practice, and the thought came to me to go to YouTube and look around viewing videos on different aspects of people and their spiritual journeys. There's so much on YouTube. So I came upon a young man named Kyle Gray. I had seen a few of his videos in the past, and I liked what he says. And he seems earnest, kind, and loving. So I listened to several of his videos, and then I went to his website, and he has a membership program where he has more videos and teachings and teaching offerings, and so I joined. He also has written several books and created several angel oracle card decks. I listened to many of his offerings and bought his latest book titled Angels Are With You Now. I strongly recommend it. I read it in a few days because it was so wonderful I couldn't put it down, and I took lots of notes. I am a slow reader. I really absorb what I read, but I took notes, and I loved his book and the way he explains our relationship with our guardian angel, and lots more information on the concept of God and all the other angels and so on. This information is exactly what I was looking for. I resonated with Kyle on everything he said. We come from very different backgrounds, and yet he was the answer to my quest for support on my spiritual journey. We never know how things will happen. In the past, I had taken 2 courses from other angel experts, but after listening to Kyle and reading his last book, I am so ready to move forward slowly but surely. First, I created for myself a daily spiritual practice where I will commit to it. I have committed to it. I've been doing it for almost 2 weeks, and I enjoy it so much that not doing it, would feel like I'm depriving myself of a wonderful experience. Additionally, there's a center in a neighboring city, about 20 minutes from my home, that offers different programs to the public. They have a Psychic Sunday, which is on the first Sunday of each month, and they have another offering on a variety of healing modalities which includes Reiki, reflexology, and so much more. I called them and they were very kind to give me a space to offer 15 to 20 minutes of Reiki on one of the days that they offer that to the public, and also a space on Psychic Sunday, and I will do readings with people using angel cards. I've done that before, not a lot, a little. I'm very excited. I'm a beginner, and but I'm very excited about doing that. The experience that I've had in the last 2 weeks with Kyle through his videos and books has allowed me to create for myself a spiritual practice that feels rich and supportive for me. I have also connected to my guardian angel, and that is incredibly wonderful. I also joined a juried art and craft organization, which allows me to sell my nature photography in the form of blank greeting cards and my 3 books. For those of you who do not know, I kind of mentioned it before, but I wrote 3 books on minimalism. I prefer to call it Living with Simplicity. I believe that being creative is a very important human need, and so I continue to be creative. I also create angel plaques. I find shells and driftwood on the beach where I live. The angel wings I use, however, come from Florida beaches. They're not found here in Maine. They don't wash up on our Maine shores. I have a store on my website if you're interested in viewing them. So as you can see, I have started to live my new life. Yesterday, I found a white feather on the beach as I was walking with my dog and friend. They say white feathers represent a sign that angels are with you. You are protected, and it also means a sign of new connections and beginnings. How wonderful is that? Until next time.